Is it possible to improve your body composition in your 30s and your 40s? If your legs are still sore 2 days after your workout, should you train them again or should you continue to rest? And what's the difference between training for muscular size and muscular strength? All these questions and more answered in today's podcast, so stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Happy to have you here. We've got a great question and answer episode for you today. If you ever want to get a question in to be answered on this podcast, you can leave it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or you can shoot us a message on Instagram and we'll get to that also. My name is Jonathan. This is my wife, Blakely. We own and operate Digital Barbell. We're an online training and nutrition coaching company. We've got clients all over the place that we're helping get in shape without all the nonsense that you usually find out there in the fitness world. If you're watching this on YouTube and you wonder why we're sitting in this shiny aluminum box, we're currently living, working, traveling full-time in our Airstream, and we are currently in West Texas. We'll be headed a little bit north shortly, but yes, we are in West Texas. If you could see out this window, you'd see a lot of mountains, you'd see a lot of dirt, and you'd see currently
a lot of dust.
A lot of dust. Because this week's podcast, we're actually sponsored by Haboobs.
Not boobs.
Not boobs, but Haboobs. We've been joking around all week because I don't know what it is about this part of the country, or our latitude or longitude, whichever one. I've forgotten the science of it, but I mean, these giant dust storms come through. It's nothing like you see in Saudi Arabia or in India and places like that, but legit, our phone popped up and it was like, there's a, what do they call it?
Blowing dust storm.
So like we have to get our workout in, all of our outside stuff done in the morning because these 30, 40, 45 mile an hour winds blow in the afternoon. It's not exactly pleasant
it's
to
not
be
really,
outside.
I mean, I feel like it's been windy everywhere we've gone, but where we are, I think of it as the high desert. We're at like almost the same elevation as Denver, which is crazy that we're in Texas, but it's like a desert, like, we got cactuses, we got tons of rock, and we got tons of dirt. So I think that they don't get a lot of rain here, so there's very little grass and it's all dirt. And so that when the wind blows, everybody's yard is like dirt, and it's just blowing dirt, and I really think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So we just went for a walk before this to wear the dogs out, and we came back, and I was just like, I had to like wash my face, like do like nose spray.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to get outside because it's so like nice and beautiful. There's blue skies, there's no clouds. It's the temperatures are great.
But we're going broke on Kleenex.
So dusty.
So anyway,
when you think about West Texas, like the picture, I mean, everybody would image like a tumbleweed or
tumbleweeds and like, I don't know,
just
tarantulas and
miles and miles of nothing.
Road runners. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, follow us there because like we kind of post more about our travels and where we're at and what we're up to in the Instagram story. So there we go. Thanks, Haboob. If you didn't even know Haboob was a word, you're not alone. Blakely didn't either, and I'm not even sure why I knew what it was, but we're Haboobing hard over here.
We just also got a humidifier for the camper. It's blowing right here. The thing is working good.
Yeah, because it was like 7% humidity, and like,
why
is my nose bleeding?
I was like hearing the dogs like like in the middle of the night, like everybody's just so thirsty.
Yeah. We're going broke on Kleenex, lotion, and chapstick, basically. All right, let's get into these questions.
All right. Okay. Well, this one.
Do you want to answer this one first? Or you want to save it for the end?
It's number one.
All right, knock it out.
Well, number one. How are the dogs adjusting to full-time Airstream life? I think that they both like it, and I think they like a lot of parts of it, but I do think they miss their home. Mm-hmm. I think they go on like many walks a day. Like at home, we would take them hopefully on one walk a day, maybe. They get to, because every time they got to go to the bathroom, they have to basically go for a walk. Also, a lot of RV parks or places that we stay have our dog parks, and so they like that experience too. But
the caveat is they can't be in there with any other dogs.
It's not like a social situation.
Yeah, they're not very social.
They can only go in there if no one is in there.
Yeah, that would be the dream though, if we had dogs that could mingle with other dogs.
I haven't seen it though, because I think most dogs are not like that, because you go in there and someone will be in there do you want the dog park? I think everybody goes in there with their dog by themselves.
Yeah, we're not the only one with the antisocial dogs.
But I do think that they also kind of, with all the activity, they still get bored, I think, and like, because there's not as much space to roam around. Like our dogs liked to roam around the house and be in different rooms and look at, do whatever during the day and run through the yard. And I think they miss a lot of that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But we made sure to like bring all their preferred toys from home. We have a toy basket in here and all their bones. And we owned this camper for a year and a half before we moved into it full time. So they were already really comfortable being in this space, and they love to sleep in here. And I
think they're doing fine. I think it's just like kind of like all of us. We just miss home.
I would actually say they're adjusting better than we are, if we're being honest. I've seen far less crying coming out of Buttons and Lacey lately than from the two of us. Haven't heard them bicker or argue about anything. They're not stressed about where we're going to drive next. I don't even think they know we're going to drive somewhere next. So they're killing it, man.
Okay. All right. What is shredding the muscle, and is it something I should do? I
think we could just like start off with some definitions, because at first I was like, I'm not even sure what this question means. But I think the question behind the question here is like, well, what does it mean to be shredded? And is that should I be shredded, or if I should be shredded, how do I get shredded? So I think, like,
do you think that's what that meant?
I think so.
Okay.
Unless that's some sort of like foam rolling technique that I'm not familiar with. If it is, like, no, you don't need to be shredding your muscles down with a massage gun or a foam roller or anything like that.
Yeah, because when you think about shredded looking muscles, you can see a lot of the parts of the muscle, the striations.
I think that's what you're getting at. Like, if you look at that chart that's in your doctor's office of the skeleton with the muscles on it, you can see that muscle fibers are in these lines. They have these, like you said, striations to them. And you can see where one muscle begins and where one muscle ends. You see the shape of the muscle. But most people are not shredded because they don't look shredded, and you can't see those things because we walk around with body fat on top of our muscles that obscures the striations and the definition and all that kind of stuff. So not until you get down to a really low enough body fat percentage, and you even can like deplete your body of water that's inside the skin, do you really like get that quote shredded look. I think that's what it means by shredded. For men, if you want to put a number on it, it's typically like when they start getting down into the single digit body fat percentages, and for women somewhere between like 15 and 18% body fat. And like, I've gotten to that point in my life, but I can tell you just from personal experience, it's a pretty miserable experience to get quote shredded to the point where you're like that. It's definitely not sustainable. It's not good for your overall health. Most people can be happy with the way that they look at a much higher body fat percentage than being shredded, because it requires being in a calorie deficit for a long time to lose that last amount of body fat that gets you #shredded. I would rather look jacked than shredded. I define jacked as being like having an above average amount of muscle mass and a below average amount of body fat, but not a super low amount of body fat where you're just like, you're seeing like the complete outline of every single ab and it just looks like you're starving.
I agree, yeah.
And for guys like me that aren't really big, I only weigh like 163, 165 pounds at 5 foot. Well, I say I'm 5'10", but I'm really 5'9". If I get shredded, like, sure, I look good with my shirt off, like, as you can see all the muscle definition, but with my clothes on, I look scrawny because like having some fat over the muscle actually gives you like a bigger looking, more natural look than somebody who's going to step on a bodybuilding stage.
I agree. I think you look good. I think you look better with heavy, like with a little bit of weight on you.
You could say fat. It's okay. You like me fat. All right. Okay. I agree. So hopefully if that didn't answer the question, shoot us another message.
All right. I understand what recomping is, but is it really possible to still do this in your 30s and 40s?
What do you think, babe? Can you recomp in your 30s and 40s?
Definitely. I think I recomped in those years. Why
don't we just tell people what recomping is in case they've never tuned into one of our podcasts before? So I think of it as two definitions. Some people will say recomping mean I want to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Or you can just think about it as I want to change my body composition for the better. Body composition is really the ratio of how much muscle you have to how much fat you have. And if somebody's unhappy with their current body composition, I'd be willing to wager that it's because they think they have too much fat, and they may not know it, but they probably have too little muscle. So in either case, both are possible. in your
Yeah.
30s or your 40s, because the mechanisms that cause you to recomp your body, they work at any stage of life. Sure, they might not work as well as when you're like 18 or 20 or whatever, but they still work.
Yeah.
And you can still build muscle when you're over 30. You can still build muscle when you're over 40 and beyond. Heck, we have clients in their 60s and their 70s that are building
definitely.
muscle right now. And everybody, no matter what age you are listening to this, you can lose fat through a calorie deficit. That's the science of it. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, but that's the mechanism that causes fat loss. So regardless of your age, you can still lose fat. You can still build muscle. And I want to encourage you that, like, if you are new to training, you're going to go through a newbie gains phase where you can do that magical thing I talked about at the beginning, where you're losing fat and building muscle at the same time, with the caveat that your nutrition and your training are relatively on point, because you're going to be extra responsive to those things that already work. Your training being on point means you're lifting weights with the goal of getting stronger. You're doing plenty of accessory work to build muscle. And being on point with your nutrition means you're eating about the right amount of food and calories, and you're eating enough protein to give your body the amino acids it needs to build the muscle to improve your body composition. The way people go wrong with this is starting with just the idea like, I just need to exercise a lot to improve my body composition. They jump into a lot of group classes. They're doing a lot of lightweight training. They're eating clean, which doesn't have anything to do with how much you're eating or if you're getting enough protein. And if they do lose weight, they probably don't improve their body composition, because the half of the weight that they've lost is muscle, meaning their body fat percentage stayed the same. We talked a lot about this in our episode on the 10 reasons that you're working out but you don't look like it. And we have a free resource that will teach you more about this subject, how to reverse the problem of not looking like you work out. It's digitalbarbell.com/looklikeyoullift, or I'll put a link to it in the description of this episode.
Yeah. I spent a lot of years exercising, not training, eating clean, but not eating the right amounts. And until I switched those two things, learning how to train and how to eat in the right amounts, did I actually recomp my body composition. And that was probably started in my late 30s.
Yeah, same with here. Like, I think a lot of people might look at us like we're in our
You don't have to say it.
We're in our mid to late 40s now, and like I think a lot of people might think like
I don't think so.
we're not.
I just go
She's like,
on.
don't edit this part out. But I think it's encouraging for people to know, like, you know, we weren't always in good shape. You know, like you didn't really start to, like you said, like do this kind of training that we do now into your 30s. I never even touched a weight until I was 30. Didn't know anything about nutrition until I was over 35. So yeah, like it's not too late.
Right.
What's next?
What's the difference between training for strength versus training for hypertrophy? Which one should I prioritize? That's a great question.
Yeah. So hypertrophy is just a fancy way of saying muscle size, like muscle growth, the process of hypertrophy.
Yeah, we answered this like 2 weeks ago. Like, was someone asked a similar question, like, is muscle strength or muscle size more beneficial?
So they were asking, like, as you age, which one is more important? I mean, for like the last thing they said in this question is, which one should I prioritize? So I would go back and listen to that episode, and we'll give you the logic of why. I remember I at least said you should be training to build muscle size as you age, and kind of listen to our logic behind that. So we can't answer that question for you, which one should you prioritize. But I can tell you the difference between training for strength and training for hypertrophy is that strength training is like, or gaining strength really is mostly a neurological adaptation. Now, of course, there's like overlap between what's going to happen to your body as you train for strength. You are going to get bigger muscles as you get stronger, but so much of getting stronger is teaching your motor units of your muscles to deal with the heavy weight that you're giving it, like causing that stress to your muscles to be like, and then your muscles, after you recover through eating enough and sleeping enough, are like, oh crap, like I better get stronger because there's a good chance I'm going to have to do this again. So that's the adaptation that's happening with strength training. And then on the hypertrophy side, that's more driven by, yes, there's a strength component to it, but that's more driven by the total amount of volume that you do. No bodybuilder that steps on a stage and has those like giant jacked up muscles, regardless of steroids or whatever, built those muscles by doing 3 sets of 3 on every exercise that they do. They do a lot of accessory exercise, and they do a lot of sets and a lot of reps on those muscles, because that's the stimulus that muscles need to continue to get bigger. And like I said, there's overlap. If you get really strong, your muscles are going to grow. If you focus on growing your muscles a lot, they are going to get stronger, but it's not a 1-for-1 trade-off. And that's and like all of this to say, you don't have to choose between which one you prioritize. You can hire us to handle your training for you, and we'll take away the guesswork so you get the benefit of doing both. In every week that we've worked out, for as long as I can remember, we are strength training. We are bodybuilding. We're focusing on getting stronger and building our muscular size all at once.
And our aerobic capacity, all within the same week.
Yeah, you don't have to choose. I think like you can go through times where you prioritize one or the other, but for the general person listening to this, like you truly can have it all.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like worry about it too much.
Yeah, just like a little, side note into like how our programming looks is like we are ending a 6-week cycle right now. So we're taking our clients through like a really long but chopped up cycle. So we've done 6 weeks where we're focusing on like chest and back. So we're hitting low reps. We're building strength in the deadlift and in the bench press.
Yep.
And that's only 2 lifts. And then everything else that we're doing hypertrophy type training. We're doing front squats, which, you might be like, unsubscribe. Front squats and lunges in sets of up to 12, and, curls and triceps and rows and all of the other things we're doing in the higher rep range. And then after 6 weeks of that, we're going to switch that up, and we're likely going to do something like a press and a squat in those lower rep ranges to build strength in those, and then work on our hypertrophy training for the other things.
You just said something that reminded me of something I should have said in the beginning of this question. Was like, I said that strength is largely like a neurological adaptation and that kind of stuff. But what causes a muscle to get stronger is the heavy loads that you expose it to, which is why we do deadlifts in that like 3 to 5 rep range, because that's what causes strength adaptations. Like basically, you need to be working within about 85% of the most you could do for one single rep in that 3 to 5 rep range. Plus, that's the most you can do safely
at that weight,
when you're working at that close to your max too. And if you did like sets of 10 at that weight, you would either get hurt or you get so incredibly sore that you wouldn't. And it's not true. If you were
able to do it, it's not truly. You're not truly working at like that percentage of your 1 rep max.
Right.
And you're working on your hypertrophy training.
Yeah, or your muscular endurance.
Your endurance training. All right. If my legs are still sore from squats after 2 days, should I skip doing leg work until the soreness is gone?
Good question. Yeah. If I didn't work out every time that I was sore, I would do like, 2 workouts a week, maybe. Soreness is like, it exists on a spectrum, really. Soreness isn't necessarily an indicator of a good workout. Doesn't mean you got a great workout. But if you have a little bit of soreness pretty consistently, that's probably a good sign that you're pushing yourself hard enough to make gains.
A little bit of soreness meaning you can still probably get under the bar. You can still like pull a deadlift, things like that. I think the times then you would be so incredibly sore where you would want to skip your workout would be if you have taken a long break in time where you have like not lift, say you're regularly doing like barbell squats and deadlifts and things like that. You have not been around a barbell for a long period of time. You will be extremely sore that first time you get back, and you might have to go a little bit lighter or do some like goblet squats or something that first week. If you or if you've done a workout, like say, it's about to be Memorial Day here, like people are going to be doing the Murph workout where they're going to be doing, hundreds of squats, or you've done some workout where you've done tons of thrusters or wall ball or lunges or something out of the ordinary and you're extremely sore, then that's another time where I would likely I'm going to do something else today, just because for me, if I'm that sore, I can't safely get into a position say to lift the bar from a deadlift if my hamstrings are so sore. So only in those rare cases, I would say are you most likely so sore where it's not safe?
Right. It's a good distinction there. Like, are you sore because you did something crazy, or are you sore because you worked hard? If you're sore because you did something crazy, you need to chill.
Or it's been a really long time since you've worked out. But if you're just generally sore because you've been working hard and you've been pretty consistent, but you're just like, oh, I'm still a little bit sore, then usually as soon as you get started, you're going to start to feel a little bit of relief, which sounds crazy, but it's true.
Like, don't give up on doing your workout before you get in there and you start to warm up. Like, a warm muscle usually is less sore than... everybody has been a little bit sore. You sit at your computer desk for a couple hours, and then you get up.
Just like, I can't even imagine putting a weight under me right now.
Don't skip the gym at that moment. Like, go to the gym, warm up, ride the bike for a little bit.
Yeah, do something a little bit like a longer warm up, and that usually like you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, and you probably shouldn't be planning your like max out days for days where there's a good chance you're going to be sore also. That's not going to be the most productive measure of maxing out. So keep that in mind. If you're going for a 1 rep max and you're sore, probably better to do something else that day. Wait till you're not sore and then max out.
All right. What are your favorite underrated exercises for building muscle?
Okay.
This is great.
Yeah, let's go through this one quick because I put down a lot of different... I went through this by muscle group.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe yours are some of the same, but my favorite... these are not just...
The only reason you do these is because I program them for you.
Yeah.
So don't be taking credit for these.
Right. I didn't invent these. You do my workouts. And remember, they specifically asked for building muscles. So we're talking about hypertrophy here, not just for strength gain. So for my quads, I like to do heel elevated squats. I like to do them in a lot of variety of ways. When it gets really heavy, it's uncomfortable for me to hold a heavy weight in front of me like this because it transfers too much tension down into my elbows. So I like to do these with a barbell a lot of times.
But doing that position, elevating your heels, and we're talking about, we usually like to stand on like a 25-pound rubberized bumper plate, and that gives you about
2.5 inches.
That's 2.5 inches?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Of elevation. So it's not just like it's much more than wearing a
weightlifting
shoe. And what this does is when you squat, it really pushes the work into the quads. So if you have a hard time hitting the quads, whenever you're like, I want to build my quads up, I have a hard time like hitting that area, that's the way to push the work into your quads a little bit more. And you will be so surprised if you've never done these. People who have a hard time hitting depths can go all the way to the bottom in these just because of that position of your ankles.
Exactly. If people struggle to squat because they have bad ankles, not bad ankles. They just lack ankle mobility.
Yeah.
And that heel elevated position allows you to get your knee more flexed at the bottom of the squat so you can get lower, which means you're stretching the quad more out at the bottom, which is why you get so many good gains on those.
Okay, for glutes, he wrote down deficit lunges, which, again, this is something I throw in the programming all the time. People love to hate this one. They hate to do it, but they love the results from it. So you're standing on maybe like at this time where we would put like 225s, so a little bit high, double that of it, like
3.5 to 4 inches.
A 3-inch deficit is what we usually recommend. And you're standing on the plates and you're lunging backwards. So we've talked a lot about on this podcast, anytime we do lunges, most like 85 to 90% of the time we're going to do a step back lunge because you're actually recruiting more of the glutes to do the work and less pressure on the knee. Sometimes we will do that forward lunge to get that, the other position in there. But so you're going to be stepping backwards off the plate to get that deficit. And you can do these with no weight. They're great. You can do these with a goblet. You can do these with double rack dumbbells. You can do these with a barbell.
Mm-hmm. It basically works for the same reason as the heel elevated goblet squat. Mm-hmm. That deficit makes the back knee have to travel down further to the ground, which stretches the glute out even more in the leg that's doing the work. And
you're also going to feel that these are going to strengthen hip flexors. I feel these a lot in my hip flexors, and that's one area I really do notice that I need to build strength. So I like these for that too. All right, for biceps, this is one of your favorites.
Biceps, my favorite is one that you can do in a variety of different ways. It's basically a lengthened position curl. So if you are standing away from a cable machine and you reach back and have your arm back behind your torso and you keep your arm back behind your torso as you curl, you can also do the same thing with a band looped around something. You can do this laying on an incline bench with the weight, with your arms hanging back down behind you on the ground. I just like these.
Laying with your back on the bench.
Yeah, what did I say?
I was just clarifying. Like a lot of times we're laying forward on a bench doing something, but they're extremely hard. Talk about realizing like how weak you can feel. Like
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, give me the tens when I do that incline bench position. There's something so difficult
There's
about
no
it.
way to use momentum of anything when
Yeah.
you do those two. So there ain't no cheating in these lengthened position curls. So love them. Give them a try.
Yeah.
They'll make you sore, so ease into them if you've never done them before.
I would say triceps is one of the most controversial ones. I don't know if controversial is the right word, but like triceps hit differently. I would say out of all the exercises, tricep exercises hit people differently.
I'd agree.
Like some people cannot feel certain movements or go through the right range of motion, and then some people like love that exercise. So your favorite is the LTE or the
Yep.
line tricep extension. I have forced myself to continue to do these, even though I don't feel these as much as you do. And so, because I know I need to work on different, like I will go, like if I had my choice, I'd always go with the overhead tricep extensions because I can lift heavier weights with those and I can feel those way more in my triceps than the LTEs. And you hate these, I would say, and you
Yeah, those
always
are a
want to do
weakness
the
of mine.
LTEs.
Yeah.
So,
It comes down to personal preference too.
yeah.
But I think the overlap between this and the bicep exercises, both of them put the muscle we're talking about in that lengthened position. There's something magic that happens when you do your hypertrophy work with the muscle in that lengthened position. So you could LTEs. I like LTEs more than skull crushers because you get that with a skull crusher. If you're laying on your back, your arm stays perpendicular to your body, like straight up in the air, and you're only hinging at the elbow. But with an LTE, you do let your shoulder open up, which stretches the tricep even more. So if you've never tried that and you've only done skull crushers, give them a try.
Okay. And last but not least, the chest. You said close grip dumbbell bench.
Yeah.
And you said dumbbell bench, not barbell bench.
Yeah, I don't feel like the close grip dumbbell bench is as good for hypertrophy of the
Barbell?
chest. Yeah, I don't think the close grip barbell bench is as good for hypertrophy. I think it's a great accessory exercise to do for the flat bench to continue to make strength gains with the flat bench, put close grip barbell bench later in the week. But for hypertrophy, there's something special about, especially of the chest, about those close grip dumbbell. Some people call these squeeze presses. Basically, you take two dumbbells, you hold them out overhead, you're laying on the bench, and you push the dumbbells together and you keep them together as you lower them down to your chest. And if you actually, people forget that one of the roles of the chest is to bring the arm across the body, adduction. So you can kind of trick your chest into think you're doing adduction by pushing the dumbbells together, and that fires up the chest even more as you do those close grip squeeze presses, dumbbell bench press, whatever you want to call them.
And I think these are almost just as much a tricep accessory as it is a chest accessory. Like
100%.
right now we're doing, like I was saying, we're doing this, progression where we're hitting the bench press as our strength. So we've been hitting the close grip bench as an accessory because we're doing the chest and we're hitting the tricep.
Yeah, it's a great
in the
overlap.
Close grip. Yeah. So I agree. I like it this one, but I miss my hex dumbbells. I like these with hex dumbbells. They're very hard with we have the adjustable dumbbells with us on the road, and we've been going to random gyms, and they usually have round headed dumbbells, and they're very awkward. And so you have these two giant round headed dumbbells that don't need to be this big. You can't push them together, or you offset them, and so I haven't got a good close grip bench since we left the house.
Yeah.
But yes, it is one of my favorites as well.
Close second to this would be diamond push-ups for all the same reasons that
Yeah.
the close grip dumbbell bench
That's
press
true.
works.
If you can't do close grips, do diamonds. Those are tough. Okay. Besides creatine, what supplements do you recommend?
We can keep this one really short because the list is really
That's
short.
hard for you to do, but go ahead. Let's try.
So we won't have to talk. We don't have to talk about creatine because they already know that's a great supplement.
Yeah.
The most simple one that almost everybody could benefit from is protein powder, and only because so many people are under eating protein in their diet. It's hard to eat protein. Luckily, protein is trending these days. It's all the rage.
So we've heard.
What is that? What do people? It's on trend. Is that what people say? Protein's on. I don't know. So protein powder. Whey protein isolate is the simplest, cheapest way to get it in a supplement form. If you are a vegetarian or vegan, you're going to want to look for a soy, pea, or rice.
Highly recommend R-Bomb protein. If you haven't tried it, R-Bomb meal replacement protein because it's bulked up with some carbohydrates, some fats, and lots of protein. and it's delicious.
Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah. But like you said, it's a meal replacement.
It's a meal replacement.
If somebody's just wanting to supplement protein powder, don't take a meal replacement. You're going to be getting too many calories. So nothing magic about taking protein powder. Is truly just food, extra protein in the diet. You're probably already snacking between meals, so why not get a little bit of protein in a snack?
I think you should link some resources for how to buy this, because I think it's tricky. I know a lot of people can get tricked buying this, because if you you have to really think about number one, what's in it, what are the ingredients, are they have the right amino acid profile, what are the how many servings are in a container. We noticed your sister bought one, and it was
2 scoops,
it was cheaper,
was a
but it
serving.
was 2 scoops for a serving, so it's really this thing's going to be 15 servings.
Yeah.
So it's it was really not a good deal, because they make, I don't know, it's just tricky to buy nowadays, I would say. So
I can definitely link something, but just a general rule is you want to get between 20 and 25 grams of protein per serving. Per serving, could be 2 scoops for a serving, and you want to keep that as close to between 100 and 150 calories in that serving. If you remember, there's 4 calories per gram of protein. So look at the protein grams in it, multiply it times 4, and you want that to be pretty darn close to how many calories are in the thing. There's going to be some trace amounts of carbs and a little bit of fat, depending on what brand you have, or if it's a veggie protein. But if you're only getting 25 grams of protein out of it and it's 300 calories, that shows you this is no longer a protein powder, it's something else in addition to a little bit of protein.
Let me just stop you real quick, because I think when someone asks this question, besides creatine, what supplements do you recommend? When people say supplements, I'm reading your list here, and there's only one thing on here that I think is even a supplement. I think people don't think about protein powders being a supplement. I think if people use protein powder, they just think I use protein powder as a snack or whatever, or a breakfast or a protein option. I don't think that people think about that as a supplement. And you have caffeine on the list, and I don't think people think of caffeine as necessarily as a supplement.
Okay, fair enough.
So I would say,
you want me to? What about the other one?
Yeah, beta alanine is the supplement that you take besides creatine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand your point.
Yeah.
And you put it that way, then basically we don't really recommend any supplements, which is crazy, because so many people's focus is on what supplement is missing out of my regimen to finally get me the results that I want. Should I be taking dextrose? Should I be taking BCAA, all this kind of stuff? And it's really just smoke and mirrors. That
you just need to be eating a well-rounded diet to get all the supplements.
As unsexy as that sounds, yes. But yes, beta alanine has some good research behind it. It's basically just an amino acid that converts to something called carnosine in your body after it's absorbed. And then carnosine helps you buffer out hydrogen out of your muscles. When you're doing a set of bicep curls and you start to feel that burn and you're getting to the point where you can't make any more muscle contractions, it's because one of the byproducts of those muscle contractions is hydrogen. It's built up in your muscle and is preventing you from doing another muscle contraction.
I've noticed you doing a few more reps.
So the extra carnosine absorbs that hydrogen, flushes it out of the muscle. So just like creatine allows you to, maybe be able to do more work and generate more ATP and get a more productive workout. That's basically what beta alanine is doing for you. It's especially beneficial because of what it does for people who are doing higher rep training, real high volume sets, a lot of sets, or somebody like a cyclist who's doing tons and tons of reps with their legs. You're just going to be able to do more work over time. So you're not going to feel like a superhero or anything like that. But actually you might feel like a superhero, because one of the side effects is that tingly feeling on your scalp or on your face or neck sometimes. So
be warned.
If that really turns you off, then you're not going to like beta alanine. This is also a really common ingredient to be found in pre-workouts, and even in that drink C4, the energy drink C4.
I know, you got to really, I think you were at the gym the other day, you were going to buy a pre-workout, and it's, you got to read these things. You got to how much, some of them.
That one had 300 milligrams of caffeine and it also had beta alanine.
Yeah, and so you might have maybe you don't want these supplements, you really have to read these cans, because they make them look all fun and and then you're drinking something you have no idea what you're drinking.
And then I take 5 grams. I don't measure it exactly, but I know my scoop is about 5 grams. As often as I can remember, I try to take it every day.
And for caffeine, you literally just use coffee or a squirt in your water. We don't take powdered caffeine or anything like that.
No, but I think, creatine is a performance enhancer,
Yeah.
which I would say is a supplement. Having somewhere around 200 milligrams of caffeine 30 minutes before a
Yeah.
workout can make it a more productive workout. The only caveat is that the rule is try not to have more than 400 milligrams of caffeine total over the course of the whole day.
One thing I used to take that I do not anymore was carbohydrate powder, and I used to take this like
Cyclodextrin.
before I did I was doing a lot more like CrossFit style training, and man, I loved.
I wouldn't
the
mind
effects
getting some of
that
that again.
I felt so energized
Yeah.
from that stuff because it comes in, it's like a fruity flavor. You mix it in your water, you drink it, and I was just like, "Let's go! I can do anything." I mean, but now I eat a power waffle, and I feel the same way. So
Oh man.
I would rather eat something than drink something. If it was
Fair
up to
enough.
me. All right, last question. Should I train differently in a fat loss phase versus when I'm trying to build muscle?
I mean, I would say overall, not really. Just adjust your expectations. And if you've been training to build muscle and now your goal is fat loss, well, let's make that the priority and not continue to expect to build muscle and get stronger. I think that's what trips people up a lot is in their mind, in their like what they want to see on their body. That has like one idea what they want, but they also still want the other thing that's kind of counterproductive to the new thing that they want. They never adjust their expectations. So it's not that we're going to like completely sacrifice your strength and muscle because we're focusing on a fat loss phase, but let's dial in and focus on the nutrition side of things and just try to maintain the progress that we've made. So you're not going to have to make any major changes to your training. I mean, the main danger in going into a fat loss phase, if you're serious about it, and you're really going to do this fat loss phase, is people are concerned about losing muscle. So really the only thing you need to do to prevent losing muscle in a fat loss phase is to continue to give your muscles that stimulus of growth, whether they grow or not. That means doing hard sets of exercise, of training, doing your squats, doing your deadlifts, doing your curls. Continue to train the way you have been. And then make sure you're eating enough protein to still keep your body from attacking your current muscle to rob those amino acids, which really, if you're somewhere between 0.7 and 1 gram of protein per pound per day that you weigh, you're getting plenty of that. So you don't have to overcomplicate it. Now, monitor yourself if you really are being consistent with this calorie deficit to lose weight. Like, is your training dropping off? Are you feeling super lethargic? What about other things? Is your sleep suffering? Are you grumpy? Like, it's okay to take a step back and eat at calorie maintenance for a while during a phase and go back to like pushing the weights a little bit heavier, letting any injuries heal up, and just getting a mental break from dieting. So monitor yourself while you do that. And you might want to add in more low intensity cardio during a fat loss phase because it doesn't take any extra recovery resources to recover from. Like, maybe pull back a little bit on the high intensity stuff and take more walks, get more steps, go for more bike rides, more dog walks, that kind of stuff. But no big changes overall. A long way to say that.
All right.
All right.
That's it.
Like I said, if you guys want to get a question in the queue for a future episode, just drop a comment if you're watching this on YouTube, or drop us a message on Instagram. And we'll get to it. Don't forget to go download that resource about why you might be working out and don't look like it. I think there's some valuable stuff in there that could change your results over time. So thank you guys for tuning in.